What's up, guys? It's JZNES back again with another video. Today, we're talking about Ready Player 2, the book by Ernest Cline, the sequel to Ready Player 1, my favorite book of all time, if you've watched that video, which you haven't, statistically, because like 2 people have viewed that video. Go watch that video. It's awesome. There's some spoilers. There's going to be spoilers to this. Spoilers? Did I say spoilers yet? I did say spoilers right now. Spoilers for Ready Player 2. Kind of. I don't know how far I'm going to get into it. But I guess at the end of the day, it all comes down. By the way, we're listening to a randomized version of a playlist for a video that I might make someday about my top 100 games. This is just potential music for that video, potentially. You know, like, there's like 400 songs on here, so I hit shuffle, and it wouldn't shuffle any other way than with Silver Surfer at first. So I had to close it out. And not that I minded that, but just like, and then it went to Mass Destruction, which, spoilers, did I say spoilers? Spoilers for Ready Player 2 is actually kind of appropriate for Ready Player 2. So we'll talk about that. Anyway, it's from Persona 3, great, fucking game. Definitely, it's in my top 100, I can say that now, because, I've actually released that fucking, those videos at this point. Alright, so, Ready Player 2, everyone wants to know, does it live up to Ready Player 1? And in a lot of ways, yes, it actually does. I was really not expecting that much, but I actually got a lot more than I bargained for in terms of, like the first, I don't know, first few hours, I was listening to the audiobook, by the way, the first few hours of the audiobook, I was like literally in tears. And I even went out for a walk and I was still in tears and whatnot. Because, like, not just because this is the sequel to Ready Player 1, but because the story was so, like, the things that they did to the characters, in a sense, was just so, the situations they were being put in, and the drama going on was just so, emotionally impactful to me, and especially knowing these characters from Ready Player 1, and having re-listened to that a lot of times, it was just really sad to hear what was going on with their characters and whatnot during that. And it's really a very interesting book because okay, spoilers. So they invent this thing. James Halliday invents this thing called the ONI, which basically you can feel everything that's going on inside of the Oasis and whatnot. And so this brings up a lot of ramifications and a lot of things that could happen with this. You know, people can be other people and feel what it's like to be other people and whatnot. And you know, other genders, other anything. You could be anybody doing anything. You could be a celebrity if you want. Also, this is funny because pursuing my true self, which is another kind of theme of the book. So anyway, what is your true self? You know, that's a theme of the book. They touched on that in the first one a bit, but like here it's really like, what is a person? You know, that's like a big theme of this book. Spoilers, by the way, and I'm actually going to talk about the ending and stuff because it kind of ties into the central message of the book. So read the book first. It's very good. If you just want my short TLDR, or TL Doctor, as the Reddit videos like to say. If you want my TL Doctor on this, read the book. It's really good after you've read Ready Player 1, obviously, because it's the same characters, and it's just the progression of those characters and whatnot. Past, you know, and kind of what the contest, them winning the contest means, or what that has done to them and whatnot. So, it's funny how they put 2 Persona songs at the very beginning here. Okay, I've got like maybe 10 or 12 Persona songs out of 400, and the first 2 are Persona songs. Like, okay. Anyway, great songs. I love Persona, but it's not the point. We're not talking about Persona. We're playing. No, I'm just kidding. We're reading. It's almost like the same thing. Like, we're reading Ready Player 2, but it's like we're actually not reading it. We're listening to Ready Player 2, if anything. It's also read by Will Wheaton, by the way. Just that's something, you know, like the first book was. So, so yeah, really good progression of the characters and whatnot. And I'm really happy with what they did with the characters. But okay, sorry, right. So he invents this O and I thing where you can feel what you can experience what other people experience, and this becomes a big thing. And Artemis, Wade's like girlfriend for the last one, or whatever, or they get together at the end of the last one. Sorry, spoilers for Ready Player One. Also, by the way, obviously we're talking about Ready Player Two, so there's gonna be spoilers for both. She's not into this because she thinks that this is a bad idea. First of all, morally, because just for a lot of reasons, and they make a lot of good arguments for it too. Like, you know, you can experience other people being another race or something. So like all racism is like kind of taken away, and like people aren't as concerned about genders and stuff, and like that's all good. You know, that's really cool. All of that kind of stuff, that's great. And Artemis realizes all of this, and crime rates are down and everything. Like, this helped a lot of people. But at the same token, she knows that there's something wrong with this, and she doesn't like the kind of the morality behind it and whatnot. I think. Oh, it's KK birthday. Aw, KK birthday. What a good song. Sorry, I'm gonna get very distracted because I don't even know what half these are. Man, first time I heard this, I fucking cried too, because it was a very emotional moment, especially for Animal Crossing. That's probably one of my favorite days in Animal Crossing. But anyway, not relevant to this. So basically, she realizes all of the morality of living your life through somebody else's lives, and people just kind of not living their own life. I believe is what it was. Sorry, this is like at the beginning of the book, and this came out like a month ago, or like a month and some change ago. And I started listening to it then, but unlike Ready Player One, I didn't binge the whole thing. I was going to, but then I just kind of like slowed it down because I wanted to really savor the experience of listening to this book. I didn't want it to go by too fast because I know that I'll re-listen to it at some point, but it's kind of one of those things where I'm gonna have to re-listen to both now, which is gonna just take a long time, you know. So it's like, you know, but so anyway, Artemis is not on board with this at all, and they have these like meetings as the people who run the Oasis or whatever, and she consistently is just getting more and more pissed at them, and she ends up kind of hating Wade's guts or whatnot, and that's really heartbreaking. That's part of the reason why I was like super emotionally invested in this like early part, is the fact that I liked them so much together in the first one, and I can relate. You know, you know, I won't get into it too much, but I know how that feels. I've been there. I've been Wade Watts in that situation. Maybe not that extreme of the situation, because that's, you know, they're a little farther into most, you know, into the relationship or whatnot, and then this kind of just drives a stake between them. Spoilers, I know. I'm saying that, but I don't know if this has gotten through to everyone yet. There's going to be massive spoilers for this book that was just released, and this is why I really don't want to spoil it. Metal Gear Solid 2, like, I feel okay spoiling that because that happened so long ago, and you could still stop the video and play it, but this is new. I hate spoiling new things, but I kind of have to in order to review it and the themes and stuff of it. It's just like a fucking massive loop. It's like 4 minutes of this shit. Not that I don't like KK Birthday. Believe me, I cried the first time, but still. Anyway. So, yeah. So, it's like, it's all the ramifications of that to start with. And then there's kind of a point where, because the other thing is that, like, Wade has totally just, like, he has lost his whole purpose in life or whatever. He ends up finding out about this, like, second contest to get these shards of this crystal or whatnot. To resurrect, to put together this siren's soul is what it is. And there's this whole thing about it. this like line about how he's gonna have to pay a toll every time one of them's collected, but only he can collect them. So, which is kind of like so-so, because I would have rather it been like another contest that like everyone could have been in on. So it's like, you know, that kind of sucks that like everyone couldn't be in on it. They find a way to kind of work with that, but I don't know why it could only be him to do it. I mean, I do know why that is a thing because of what happens later, but at the same token, it just kind of sucks that it was only him, you know, doing that. So I don't know if I like that wholly. And there's a few things that are just like really like I don't know if they like kind of work. Like there's not really that many moments in the first book where I'm like, oh really, this is kind of like work, but I have expectations now for a Ready Player 2. I guess because of the first book. Not that those expectations weren't met, but also I don't know. You know, it's like some things I wasn't like 100% on board with, but most things I was pretty on board with. They would have to go pretty south to make this like really, really bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I'm down with that. Anyway, so there's this second contest basically. There's really no prize to the second contest. That's another thing. It's like the first book has this like really awesome prize, like you win the whole company and you win James Halliday's like entire fortune and whatever. There's a big thing at stake there, but like nobody really knows what's up for grabs if you can reunite the Siren Soul or whatever. Like, so yeah. And I guess that's still, maybe I'm just not thinking of it properly. I haven't like gone and seen any analysis of this book yet, and I saw one video pop up that's like a really negative analysis of it, so seems like that's gonna be fun. I know there's gonna be a lot of haters going on there for that, you know. Hopefully there'll be a lot of people actually liking the book too, because I do think the book is genuinely a really good follow-up to the original book. It's a great sequel, it's just not as good as the original. It's kind of like Metal Gear Solid 2 in that way, although it's, God, is it better? It's probably better than Metal Gear Solid 2. I'll just say that. Well, I don't know. Metal Gear Solid 2 has some great themes and whatnot, but we're not getting into that again. So, some very similar themes, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, so the point is that there's this second contest, and Wade kind of is trying to dedicate himself to it, but he's not totally, you know, as good as he was back in the day, because he's lost a lot of his purpose in life after, you know, having all this money just handed to him. Basically, he doesn't have to worry about anything anymore like he did in the first one, and this and that. And, he kind of has like a, not like a midlife crisis, but that kind of thing, you know, just like an identity crisis of sorts. He doesn't really know what he's on about or what he's doing, and he kind of gets absorbed in this O&I thing anyway, like a lot of people. And so the book kind of does also play to Artemis's side a lot about the O&I and whatnot. So there's that. So that's good. I'm glad that they did that. But I guess like, so it kind of takes a twist from there. So like at first you're like, okay, well, I think he gets like the first shard himself or something. He doesn't get it himself. Like somebody has to tell him about it. There's these new characters, which was what I kind of thought they were gonna do originally, was like not focus on the same characters. They would focus on some new character, and then we would sort of like a Raiden Snake situation where we'd see Wade Watts from the perspective, like somebody would be looking up to him, and that is kind of what happened. We just didn't get to see a lot of Lohengrin and her character. Okay, randomly Metal Gear Solid, cool. So the thing of it is, so there's this, they end up being referred to as the Low Five. There's this girl slash guy. She kind of switches back and forth between the genders with her avatar or whatnot. So Lohengrin, who's like the Parzival of the second group there. And we don't really get a lot of development for the second group, but she's even barely a character, which is kind of unfortunate because I wanted to know more about Lohengrin and her quest. And then later on, she has this whole quest to go and get this sword, which we don't see any of. So they could like make a whole other book about that or something. Maybe that's where they'll go with the third one. I don't know. I'm hoping they do make a third one just so there's 3 of them, but like at the same token, I don't know what they're gonna do. Because the first book was very much about kind of Halliday and figuring out his personality through this contest. And this book's more about Kira, who was Ogden Morrow's wife and lover and girlfriend and all that stuff. And I guess I can just get into it because I've already said spoilers like a million times. So Kira, the Siren Soul is Kira, her soul. Basically, her consciousness in like sort of an AI version of Kira put into actuality within the Oasis. So she has all of Kira's memories and stuff. So she essentially is Kira up until the point that Halliday had copied her from. So you have to like basically consent to this in a sense where you have to put the thing on your head and then like, I mean, I guess not because, sorry, spoilers, seriously, spoilers, get the fuck out of here if you don't want to hear this. This is like endgame stuff here. Near the end of the book, you find out that everyone who's been using the ONI system can get backed up and whatnot. Everyone has a backup as far back as they've logged on. The last time they logged on, that's constantly making a copy. I don't really figure out what those files are until the end of the book or whatever. But, so this Kira exists, and then there's all the ramifications of that, and like how that works and all of that. And the sort of the ending of the book is kind of them Ernest Cline exploring this, you know, in a sense. I'm going to spoil the ending, by the way, right now. So, in the end, all of everyone who's used this ONI, which is like pretty much everyone who uses the Oasis, makes a copy of themselves, and they're all put into this the huge spaceship thing that he talked about making in the first one, and then they're sent off. So essentially, why Metal Gear Solid then Metal Gear Solid? They're doing this a lot, actually. Essentially, their consciousnesses, if that's a word, are now immortal in a digital form, and they're sent off into space to explore the galaxy or whatever, which is a pretty cool concept. And in a sense, they've created immortality. It's funny. The way I saw it was like, it's funny how in the first book he's like, I'm not religious at all. I hate religion. All this stuff, you know, religion's bullshit. And in this one, he essentially creates a immortal digital virtual heaven to send off into the stars. I just think that's such a cool thing. Like maybe it doesn't really, there's no like he doesn't have a coming to Jesus moment. He doesn't have like this I'm a believer in God or anything now thing, but it's just funny how in a sense, in a sense he's playing God, and then he gets to create this heaven to like send off to the stars of like all of the users. First I thought what was going to happen, and I think probably still will happen, especially if they ever make a third one, is the idea is that like everyone from this point on will have this happen to them and constantly update this throughout their lives so that the end game, like at the end of their lives, they can be whatever person they wanted to be at whatever age they wanted to be, but still have all of the memories, you know, physically be whatever person they want to be in a digital environment where they can continue to exist forever. So basically it's like once you die, your soul gets transferred on into technology and the Oasis and beyond this. And that's it, not to get too religious or philosophical, but let's get there, because I mean that's what this is all about to me anyway. This is how I took this message. Oh my god, now we're back at Persona, or Shadow Worlding, yeah. I'm just gonna jam out again. You guys haven't actually seen that yet. Anyway, yo, TV screen. I love this game, by the way. So basically, this is way distracting. I can't listen to this and talk at the same time. Oh yeah, dude. Now, I don't think the Metal Gear 3 video will be out by now, but this is what I'm referring to in that video. And in the top 100 games video when I talk about Metal Gear Solid 3. Sorry, spoilers for that. It's gonna be in there, obviously. It's Metal Gear Solid fucking 3. But this escape sequence, when this song is playing, oh, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's fucking one of the greatest escape sequences ever. It's like cinematic bliss. I'm sorry, I'm getting into Metal Gear Solid 3 now. This is totally irrelevant. What I was trying to say was, it's cool how, in a sense, he has created this virtual heaven, in a sense, you know, a life beyond life. And everyone who has ever died will be able to continue to exist beyond that. And you know, I guess if you don't want that to happen to you or whatever, you just don't use the ONI software or whatnot, or something to that extent. They kind of just go ahead with it. But yeah, there is some moral implications in, like, backfiring to, like, should they get consent from every single person to do that? Yeah, probably. I mean, sure. But the idea is, to me, it's just very interesting because you can exist on beyond your life. And essentially, your consciousness... And that brings up some questions. Is your consciousness your soul, you know? Is that the same thing? Is all of your memories, your personality and all of that, is that all part of the soul, you know? It's not something that the book really delves into, but it's something philosophical that the book kind of brings up and lets the reader kind of think on, you know? Especially at the ending there. So in a sense, yeah, I think that the consciousness, this personality, is your soul, and that gets carried on into this this digital environment to where you can just exist forever, you know, beyond your physical limitations. And to some people, that would be a good thing. I know somebody who would think opposite of that, to where, like, because I've had this conversation before about, you know, what I believe happens after we die, you know, religious man. I think that there is a heaven and that exists, and it's very similar to Ready Player 2. What I was getting at with that, by the way, was, and that you can be any physical point in your life, because that's kind of how I always thought that would work, is like you get to be whatever point in your life you want to be, I guess, for whatever scenario, or maybe you just pick it at the beginning of your heavenly journey or whatnot. But I always thought it would be nice in heaven if you could replay your life, see back through your life as well, or just watch certain parts of your life. You know, at a point, and they actually have that in Ready Player 2 also, by the way. Yeah, this is totally rigged to favor Likewise games, because this is Zelda after Zelda. Even though it's Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and there's good odds at that, but, like, still. So obvious. Anyway, they kind of hint at that, like, you can look... Well, they talk about that, actually. You can look back... The digital versions can look back at their entire life or whatever, and just replay those moments and whatnot. And I think that's pretty cool. I would certainly want to be able to do that after I die in a heaven, which I believe there is. You know, you don't have to believe that or whatever. This is just all my perception of life and stuff. This is a very deep book. It is kind of deep, but it's not, like, super deep. But it brings up some very interesting questions like that. It makes you think about that kind of stuff, you know? Which is funny because, like I said in the first book, Ernest Cline basically shits on religion and says, like, there's no God, you know, there's no place called heaven and all that, but it's fine. It kind of comes full circle on that, you know, like, or the fact that Wade creates a heaven. It's really odd, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know. It's good, but, and I like that, and I like that he does that, but it just doesn't play into his religious tendencies. Maybe it's because he's a very logical person, so, like, he doesn't want to believe in a God that he can't see or feel or whatnot. And so that's why once he actually creates this thing, I mean, he doesn't create it. James Halliday creates it, but once he actually kind of, he does kind of create the digital heaven, though, with his funds and whatnot. Once he kind of creates that, that's something physical that he can see and knows that it exists. But he really is playing God at that point. So that is kind of messed up in a sense. Especially that since he doesn't believe in said God or whatnot. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought. So yeah, there you go. There's the whole spoiler for the ending of it. And there's Zelda again. What the fuck? See, exactly. This is Zelda Fest, isn't it? To be fair, I put every single Zelda game soundtrack on here. Like pieces of every Zelda game soundtrack. So it does have the largest majority of slots on the list, probably. Outside, like, maybe Metal Gear Solid or something. So anyway. So yeah, I kind of like where they went with the characters and the story and themes and whatnot. In the original, the theme was kind of to get out of the Oasis and go live your life. Sort of very similar theme to Metal Gear Solid 1 there. Oh god, it's the turbo tunnel. It's turbo time. Just kidding. And it's funny because Wade Watts actually doesn't do that, and he does exactly the opposite of that. It seems like he's gotten on the right track again with this, the ending of this book. And I hope he kind of takes that advice to heart and actually does that. It seems like he's kind of doing that. Everyone else kind of really figures that out. They all get like spouses and whatnot, H and Shoto and whatnot. So yeah, like they all figured that out, and even Artemis, she figured that out. But Wade seems to still be really obsessed and attached to the Oasis. And to be fair, part of that is probably because when Artemis split up with him, that was his coping mechanism in the first book, so he reverts back to that in this book. He just goes full in because it's like, well, because Artemis is kind of his attachment to the real world, and man, do I feel that, you know? Like, I'm definitely there with you on that one, Wade. I certainly feel that in some way. Not that I don't like a lot about reality and whatnot, but it's still the only place you can get a decent meal. But you know, yeah, I'm guilty of the same thing. I resend into media and shows and videos and games, of course, and that kind of stuff. But I've tried to kind of make a balance of it in my life. So thanks to books like Ready Player One, and also thanks to things like Metal Gear Solid. Thanks for Audible for sponsoring this video. No, Audible didn't sponsor this video, nor did Ice Mountain Water. Again, they should though. I did listen to this on Audible with the nice Will Wheaton version there, so I technically bought this thing twice, kind of. I mean, I get an Audible credit every month, so I used that to buy this again. I did buy the book twice. I bought the book, pre-ordered it, and then I bought it again. I gave that copy to my friend because he was the other like really big Ready Player One fan. We actually went and saw the movie together with his brother, and they were both kind of on it. I like the movie. It's It's really not as good as the book, and the book is like really, really good. Obviously, it's my favorite book of all time. Um, so yeah. But anyway, so there's a lot of good character stuff with that and the morality there. And now we're back to Zelda. A lot of the morality and that kind of stuff there. And then at some point, right after, so we get this hero worship thing with Lohengrin, and she's really glad to help Wade out and whatnot. And then he basically puts her in the same situation. He gives her a bunch of money to go and use because he helped her out on that quest of the Siren Soul thing to find the first part. And all the parts are related to Kira, so it's all stuff that like means something about her that Halliday knew because of the Siren Soul thing, and because of these memories that he has and whatnot. I've already spoiled that the Siren Soul is Kira, but they speculate about that early on. So Lohengrin helps him find the first shard, and then either I think it's there or maybe after the second shard. Well, after each shard, he gets these flashbacks of Kira and her life, and these moments about her and Og, mostly because Ogdemaro, that is the other creator of the Oasis, whatever, Halliday's partner, Og was the one that loved Kira, and it turns out that like James Halliday made this version of Kira so him as a digital form could be happy, they would fall in love, but even that Kira knew that she loved Og and she would always love Og. So like Halliday figures this out, and so he kind of has already created this thing, and he actually sends an email that would come out at the time of his death to Ogdemaro, telling him he's sorry that he created this, but it's your choice to basically take this technology and run with it or not, or my heir can also have that power to do that. And Ogdemaro never did anything with that technology. First of all, because it's his dead wife, and I guess he didn't really think that was like very moral to... It wasn't very helpful to his life to kind of obsess over this AI or whatnot. I mean, that's another thing you really have to think about at the end of the day. There's so many implications to this whole thing. It's like when humanity just can cross over into technology and just continue to exist as pure consciousness. Which is funny because there's a line about that in the original book where Artie's like breaking up with him or whatever, and he's like she's like, you don't even know me, and he's like, yeah, I do, you know, it's the Oasis, we exist as... She's like, you don't even know anything about the real me, or like you've never even met me, and he's like, we exist as pure consciousness in the Oasis. So it's kind of a funny little nod to that theme or whatnot. It's funny that this is playing because it's Who Am I Really, right, from Metal Gear Solid 2, which is a song about the same kind of shit, because Raiden goes through that same crisis. Sorry, spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 2. At the end of Metal Gear Solid 2, he goes through that same kind of, you know, he doesn't know who he is and all that. But Halliday kind of realizes the mistake that he's made, and so he puts the decision in Ogdemaro's hand, or into Wade Watts' hand, who he didn't even know was going to be the thing. But the fucked up thing is, he actually creates... I mean... So I guess that he also knew this was bad, but he created a version of himself as the first, like, test dummy for this technology, but he, like, altered it because he didn't want him to have, like, a bunch of, like, these really evil intentions, or, like, there's some kind of secrets that he had or something, some dark secrets that he didn't want, like, to be a part of this new thing or whatever. So he kind of engineers that out, but that ends up, like, corrupting the AI version of Halliday, who is Anorak, the same Anorak that Wade Watts meets at the end of the first book. And so he kind of becomes the villain, which is interesting because then technically like Halliday's the villain, but it's sort of the Halliday without his humanity in a sense. It's strange. It's really weird stuff that you kind of have to think about, you know. Did this stop playing for some reason? Okay. I don't know what that was about. Anyway, so this Anorak becomes the villain. He wants to reassemble the Siren Soul so that he can be there with Kira in a standalone simulation and essentially try to make her to love him, even though that's not how that works, and she would always be in love with Ogdamaro. And he knew that because he had read that email, but he didn't care. He thought maybe he could still win her over in time or something. So, yeah, like, but that never ends up happening. It's funny that this is also playing because later on in the book, at the near the very end, Ogdamaro kind of like comes in for one final battle against Anorak there, and it's like the great battle between them, and if you know what the song is from and you know where it plays in said game, you know why that is funny, because it's a very similar scenario in that game. I don't want to spoil that, not until I get to that review, which will happen eventually. I'll just say that much. But anyway, so there's a great battle between them, and then obviously Ogdamaro ends up winning. He ends up dying, but his consciousness was backed up from using the ONI that one time, so him and Kira get to kind of live on forever together, which is nice. So, yeah. And then, it's just a big epic battle. So, the quest for the Siren Soul, there's a lot of, like, really cool referential stuff. There's 7 shards. So a lot of really cool referential stuff along the way there. Like they even mentioned they mentioned Sailor Moon at one point. And I'm just like, oh god, that's pretty funny. Because I watched like half of that show. But bunch of stuff like that. You know, just all sorts of references. They oh my god, they reference fucking. No, I'm not even gonna say that one. That's so dumb. I actually have to talk about that. There's this stupid song. If you know the song Two Princes, they fucking reference that shit in this book, and they used to play that song at my work like all the fucking time. And I'm like, this is the dumbest goddamn song, but it's catchy as shit, and I hate it because every time it come on, I know all the words, but I didn't want. I hate it, but it's like it's catchy. So, but they reference that song, and I just got a really big laugh out about it. That's like the most specific reference, but like I had a personal connection to that in a negative way, really, within my life there. So it's just kind of funny to me. They don't really play that song anymore. Of course, right now it's all just fucking Christmas music. So, doesn't matter though, it's irrelevant. So point is that where was I going with any of that? I don't know. I don't even remember what I was just talking about. So yeah, okay, yeah. So there's like they each have like a different little. They're all related to Kiramoro, and they're all like stuff that she worked on or whatnot. So some of it's like stuff that's in universe, but also a lot of it is like different planets and stuff from like certain video games and whatnot, and in like movies. There's like a whole John Hughes part of the thing. There's like this old Sega Ninja game that was one of them, and they all relate to these little different parts of Kira's life. So yeah, it's cool. There's a whole Lord of the Rings section, which is pretty decent. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool referential stuff. But it comes down to the fact that, like, you know, like, they're all great, and it's great that he's referencing all this stuff. But, you know, in the first book, though, the references were pretty good, and it felt more cohesive and whatnot. Not that it doesn't feel cohesive here, but it's just like, I don't know. The first book is so classic at this point, you know, it's just like, it'll be interesting to see where this one kind of fits in time, sort of thing. Okay, we don't need to listen to this because this is just a variation of the thing we just listened to. There we go. That's a good one. Oh, is this like the really long version? Yeah. All right, we'll just listen to a little of this. Just a little bit of this because it's great. And they actually reference a lot of like more, not modern video game stuff, but like more retro stuff, like, you know, NES and stuff, and Genesis and all that kind of stuff. Stuff past the Atari systems, which is like, it was cool in the first book, and I'm really glad that they went with that. And it was very Atari-centric, but at the same token, you know, my fucking area of expertise is the NES, you know, that's my whole name. It's just right past the Atari, just by a little bit. It's like, you know, so I'm glad that they referenced a lot of that stuff in there. So I liked a lot of the references too, I guess is the other thing. Okay, yeah, now we're jamming to this. God damn it. You get the idea. It's really good. Okay, so yeah, like, all of that was good. All the adventure was good, but also this version of Anorak, this corrupted version of Anorak, basically Sword Art Onlines everyone, which I just... It's funny because I groaned at it when it happened. I'm like, oh my god, there's Sword Art Online when he's describing it. And then they say it in the thing. They're like, and it's just like Sword Art Online. And I'm just like, yeah, I know it is, alright? Fuck, you don't have to tell me that. I know it's just like Sword Art Online. In case the reference wasn't subtle enough for you, you know? If you spell subtle like this, or whatever for the JonTron joke. But, so basically, yeah, everyone who's used an ONI, he, like, has them under his control and whatever, and it's funny because Artemis earlier was like, it's mind control or whatever. Oh, fuck yeah. Zelda 2. Fuck yeah. Dun, dun, dun. I need to review this game sometime. Sometime we'll get to that. I already reviewed the first Zelda. I can get to this, Link to the Past. I'll do a whole marathon of Zelda games at some point. That'll be fun. That'd be good. That'd be really good. Oh my god, that'd be good. Yeah. Because those are some games I definitely need to review. Since I've done like these top tier ones. And yeah, I'm doing my Metal Gear review right now, so give me some time on that. But anyway. So, basically, yeah, so Anorak kind of needs all of these shards, and so he basically forces everyone within like a day, essentially, which is another thing I was so on, was this ticking time bomb plot. I liked how the original one went over so much time. This kind of feels a little rushed, and I don't really know why he did that. I mean, I get why he did that, because it makes sense with what you set up with the ONI stuff, but it's like, don't make it one day, make it as many days as is necessary, you know? I like... It's not as threatening then, and I understand that, but it's like... I would have liked it to have gone some other way. That's just a little other nitpick I had. I mean, it's fine. It works. Because the thing is, there's this, like, limitation on the ONI stuff. You can only be in there for, like, 12 hours or something like that. And anything past that's kind of dangerous for the brain or whatnot. So there's kind of like a limitation on it or whatnot. So that's kind of their ticking time bomb thing. You get all the shards. So it ends up feeling really rushed in a lot of areas. And they just really start arguing about, like, oh, we don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. I don't know. That felt a little cheap in terms of the original, where we see the span of like a year, basically. Which I liked a lot better. And it felt like a better story for it. And this is fine and everything. Like I said, this is fine too. But So yeah, there's, I guess, so there's that. Um, and that's kind of his whole thing, is he like wants to get all the parts together, like I said, to resurrect Kira Moro so he can be with her forever. Uh, and he actually, even at this point, because like everyone's stuck in the Oasis essentially, he gets Nolan Sorrento out of jail essentially, and he becomes like kind of a secondary villain. He doesn't really do a whole lot. He actually ends up dying later. I already said spoilers like 16 billion times, so I don't know what else to say. But he ends up dying later. He kind of gets killed off like a chump. Interact just kind of kills him because he's like holding Ogden Morrow hostage or whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm glad we got to see Sorrento again, and his whole thing was he wanted to press the big red button, which Wade was threatening to do to Anorak if he didn't release everyone or whatever. The big red button shuts off the whole Oasis forever and deletes it and whatnot. So he wanted to do that to just kind of get revenge on Wade Watts or whatever. That was kind of Sorrento's whole thing. Like, all right, it was like a decent side plot. But he didn't really come off as threatening as he was in the original. He's just more of a crazy like side villain or whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad we saw him again, kind of thing. I liked that. I was also kind of, like I said, disappointed that they didn't use Lone Grid and her people more, or at least give us some like side story onto that quest. That would have really like fleshed out the narrative if we'd like jumped to her perspective sometimes or something. I don't know. Maybe they can make another book, like I said, on that. But other than that, I liked pretty much everything. The theming was really top notch. Like I said, there was some really, it got really dark in the first like part of the book there, and I was just really, like, it was really heavy with emotion and whatnot, and just pretty dark, and I really wasn't expecting him to kind of go in that direction, you know. I don't know what I was expecting really, but man, it's just crazy. So yeah, so I really liked the book. I don't know if I have a whole ton else to say about it. It's just more of the Ready Player One that you got before, but set kind of, it's a sequel, you know. It takes place after the original, and it's actually kind of more of a study of love and relationships and whatnot than it is I don't know, just about a cool like contest or whatever from the original. Like the original was more about the contest stuff, and the love stuff was the side plot. It feels like it's kind of flip-flopped here. The contest stuff is kind of the side part, and the love part is a big main focus of it. Whether it be the love between Ogden Morrow and Kira, or the James Halliday love that he thinks he has for Kira and Kira doesn't have for him, or the Artemis and Wade Watts dynamic there. So yeah, so that's a big theme of this book as well, is the love stuff, which is cool. It's relatable. It's great, and you know, I'm a sucker for love stuff. That's why I'm wearing the shirt, the Miraculous Ladybug shirt there, because you know I love that kind of stuff. You know, romance stuff. That's all great. I'm all into that. So I enjoyed those parts, but that's also why that was such an emotional thing to me at the beginning, especially when you could feel them drifting apart, and then Artemis starts to really resent Wade and really you know, it's funny that I'm referring to them as Artemis and Wade when it's kind of the opposite. Like I should be referring to Artemis as Sam, because that's her name, because she likes to spend more time in the real world. That would be her real world identity, and then Wade would be Parzival, but that's kind of the opposite of how the book refers to him too. So there's something that's kind of funny. Oh yeah, one of the greatest songs right here, the Moon theme. But yeah, just so I don't know what else to really say. It doesn't compare it to the first book, and it doesn't really hold a candle to how amazing and like groundbreaking and like really cool that book was, especially the feel of that book at the time. But I still got a lot of that same feel here. And maybe in time it will become that kind of classic. It's hard to say. But like since it's been done before in the original and it was done better and whatnot, this book didn't get to feel as special as the original, even though it is still very special as a sequel to the original, as more of the original. I knew that was going to happen at some point. As more of the original. So, yeah. But I really like it, and I think it's a really great follow-up to the original book. I really love it still, and I love the characters, and I love the theming. It's all very interesting. There's not a dull moment in the book. And while I didn't really get all of the references or even necessarily care about all of the references or even little pieces of the actual quest like I did in the original, it was still good, and it was still impactful. It still made me think and feel and philosophize. So yeah, I still really appreciate it for that, and I liked seeing these characters again. I'm anxious and excited for a third one. I don't know where they'll really go with it if they make a third one. If Ernest Cline writes a third one or whatever. But I would still... There's still so much potential in this universe, even if they just do like a spin-off or something. I would like to see more of Lohengrin in her story, or his story, whatever you want to call it. So let's see that. Let's see just anything, just more adventures in the Oasis. This limitless potential in this Oasis here. So many things you can go about doing. Even just hanging out in the Oasis is cool, and going to see all the little different referential planets and whatnot, and seeing how those interact. And that's part of the fun of the book, is just seeing all of that stuff and how the rules of each world works and that kind of stuff. It's like, that's all really cool. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean quite as much to me as the original, but it still means a lot to me. The sequel to Ready Player One, Ready Player Two, it still means a lot. It's still a great book. I like almost everything about it. I have a few minor, issues with it or whatnot, but it's still a really, really great book. So I would definitely still recommend that you listen to it or read it or whatnot after you've listened to or read the original. And it's funny because they actually even reference the movie in there sometimes. Like there's one part where there's something horror related, and then they reference the part where H gets scared in the movie about the Shining thing or whatever. I think they even reference the Shining in the second book there. It's just funny because they don't really bring that up in the original, but that is a thing here in the sequel or not. So I just thought that was really cool. They also referenced the movie a little bit. I think they even referenced the Iron Giant from the, not obviously the Iron Giant's its own movie, but they referenced that from, because it was obviously a big part of this movie as well. So it's just funny. Yeah, I think Ready Player 2 is great, and I think you should read it. Obviously, I've already spoiled a lot for you, but it's still worth the experience, the journey. Uh, you shouldn't watch the video until you finish it anyway. It's really not. You just go read it, beforehand. But I liked it a lot. If I have to give it a score or something out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 9.7 or something, like a really high score, just for those minor flaws. It's not like a 10 out of 10 like the original would be. But in terms of a book, it's really still a great and very interesting book, and I would still wholly recommend it. And especially if you're a fan of the original, you gotta read the second one, for sure. So, just to kind of see where the story goes, because the story goes interesting places, and I really like that. And I think you will too if you really enjoyed the original book. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to really talk about Ready Player 2 there, because it was really good, and I had a really good time listening to it. I'm sad that it's over, but also I feel satisfied with what I got. Because I didn't know what I was getting, really. I just was kind of anticipating it because I didn't know anything about it, really, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I got. So I like it, and if you don't like it, that's fine, but whatever. But I'm gonna give it a really high score there, the 9.7, and yeah. So anyway, till next time, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic, stick around for more reviews, underrated games, maybe an occasional book sometimes we can review, or maybe a movie or something, I don't know, maybe it'll be a video game related movie, like I can review the next Sonic movie or some shit, or shit, I was reviewing games when that movie came out, I think, so I could have reviewed that, and Detective Pikachu. Could have done both of them. Maybe I'll review them in the future, I don't know. You know what I should review is some of the fucking best video game movies. I should do a video game movie top 10. I think I might do that, actually. Because there's some really good ones out there that aren't even, like official movies. Like, some of the best ones are fan-made, and some of the best video game referential movies are also fan-made. But we'll get to that in the list sometime. I'm going to add that to my ideas list of videos to make, and I'll start making that list, and maybe we can talk about some of those, and I'll recommend some of those to you then. So until then, or till next time, really, because that's not going to be the next video, this has been JZNES saying, keep it classic, stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ